What is good, everybody? Thank you for joining us here on the Mission Ready Men podcast, here on the SHR Media Network. Today is Tuesday, December 3rd. Trust you all had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I spent some time with my parents and my wife, and we had some good fellowship and actually took them to a hat store where I got this one. And they each got one for themselves, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, I smoked a turkey. It could have been a little better, but you guys who are into smoking meat, I'm sure you can relate. Anyway, we do have a ton to get to. Broken promises, conspiracy theories, more nomination drama, and perhaps one of the most unhinged reactions to pretty much anything. I mean, it is in reaction to Trump's win, but this this is just total madness. So we got all that and more for you. But before we do that, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the videos, share all these videos so that we can reach as many people as possible. Because despite the fact that Trump won the election, the big tech overlords, even the ones that have bent the knee, so to speak, they're still trying to suppress content like ours. They're still suppressing this show. They're still suppressing the SHR Media Network. And so the more that you like and subscribe and share and comment, the better we are able to go get around the algorithm that is trying to suppress us. So thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch all the other great shows like The Edge of Liberty with my good friend Sackhead Sean, The Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe, and BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon with the one and only BZ. And you can follow us on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And for our merch, you can head over to missionreadymen.com, click shop, and check out all the great designs like this one right here. All right, now that we do have business out of the way, let's go ahead and get after it. So I actually wasn't going. I had the show all planned out, and then this happened. And I was only going to spend a little bit of time on it, just mentioning it in passing, but it's much bigger than that. And of course, I'm talking about Joe Biden pardoning his son, Hunter. And even the left is a little upset with this. Not everyone. Some people are defending it, which just shows that they are brain rotted, as Scott Jang said on CNN the other day. I don't think I have that clip because there are just so many to get to. But yeah, Joe Biden did pardon Hunter despite all of the protests to the contrary. He said he would never going to do it. He told David Muir in an interview, asked point blank if he was going to pardon Hunter. He said no. KJP said on numerous occasions, there's several different compilations by Grabian and Western Lensman and a few others where she may not be flat out lying. She was parroting what the administration told her. But yeah, let's just be clear. Despite the fact that they have said for as long as this was an issue that he wasn't going to pardon Hunter, we all knew he was going to pardon Hunter. I think anyone who thought otherwise was either lying to themselves or just stupid, honestly, because we all knew it was going to happen. We all knew it was going to happen. And the biggest issue, well, there are a couple of issues. First is the fact that he lied, the fact that the pardon covers 10, almost 11 years, I think, going back to when he first started at Burisma up until the day that the pardon was issued. And so that's another big problem. But let's take a look at the pardon here, because it's something to behold. Take a look at this. Now, this is a statement from the president where he says he signed a pardon for his son Hunter. Yeah, he said he wasn't gonna interfere with the Justice Department, yada yada yada. But of course, we all knew it was going to be true. Now, this is one that really irritates me, because unfortunately, he is right that not a lot of people get prosecuted for improperly filling out a 4473. But this was not selective prosecution. He dropped a gun in a school zone and got caught. That's what led to this. It wasn't just that he improperly filled out the 4473. So there's that. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than that Hunter was singled out, not only because he was okay. That's stupid. This was his DOJ. And the only reason that it reached this pitch is because they had a whole sweetheart deal worked out where he was going to get probation and basically a slap on the wrist. They had that whole deal worked out, and then a judge looked at the deal and said, no. This is not happening. And so then they really didn't have a choice but to move forward with it. So it had nothing to do with him being prosecuted just because he was his son. If that was the case, then why wouldn't he just fire his attorney general and put someone in there who would drop this case? Just stupid. But here's the biggest, one of the biggest issues. A full and unconditional pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st of 2024, including but not limited to all offenses charged or prosecuted, including any that have resulted in convictions, by Special Counsel David Weiss in docket, blah, 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 blah. This is especially problematic because I think that the earliest charge that earliest criminal he was charged with was in 2017 or 2018. So this tells me that he knows that there were crimes committed in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. And he knows that, and he knows that Trump and his DOJ will probably start digging and find these. So he preemptively pardoned his son for all of those crimes. And even some hardcore leftists have problems with this. And I'm talking about hardcore lefties like Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian. I mean, they have been going off on this whole thing. And of course, it just reeks of corruption. The Biden crime family protecting their own yet again, bribing, as I like to call them, because I mean, he just protected his bag man, and there are actually some rumors going around that if he hadn't have done this, Hunter was going to write a tell-all book, and so this was basically blackmail. Wouldn't surprise me. He is a crackhead. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not even going to get into all of Hunter's shenanigans, but come on. Is that really outside the realm of possibility? No, it's not. So nobody's above the law, apparently, unless your name is Hunter Biden, or unless your last name is Biden, because I guarantee there will be pardons coming down for James Biden, maybe even Jill, who knows? But people, this is not the last pardon we're going to see for his family. That I can almost guarantee. So I spent a little more time on that than I originally planned, but I think it was worth it, because it's more than just a president exercising his authority on his way out the door. This is something a lot bigger and a lot more nefarious than that. But the next story I want to talk about is more drama with regard to Trump's cabinet picks. And of course, I'm talking about Kash Patel, who has been nominated as the FBI director. And I think this is an absolutely great pick. I knew who Kash Patel was when everybody started talking about him, and so I did some research into him and looked at his resume and looked at some of the things he said and some of his public statements. And one of his best public statements, and I think this is the one that got people to really get into, really get behind his nomination as the FBI director. And he was on Sean Ryan's podcast. And if you heard that, I apologize. Somebody's texting me right now. But this is Kash Patel on Sean Ryan's podcast, where he's talking about what he will do when he is, if he was
then we need to decrease what I call government creep. Then we need to decrease what I call government creep with personnel. The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops.
I really don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to shut down the Hoover building. He probably will send all those 7,000 agents out into the field and actually do FBI agent stuff. But I don't see the Hoover building being turned into a museum. I'd love to see it. If he can do it, great. I just don't really see it happening. Sounds good, but we'll see.
Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for the next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
So massive government reform.
Yeah. You got to work with Congress to eliminate the billets. This is one of the things we did when I was deputy DNI. We got to DNI and I was like, okay, what do all these people do? We've got the CIA, so why do I have analysts doing the CIA's job here? Why do I have a floor of them? Like, give me a good answer. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot. But if you can give me an answer that satisfies their existence, I'm all in.
And see, that's what a good leader will do. He admitted he doesn't have all the answers, and he's willing to accept a good answer to keep people there, but they didn't have one. So hit the BRICS. And I think that's outstanding, and we need more like that.
Well, we just have our own people. Okay, well, now we don't. And we went to Congress and zeroed out a bunch of billets, and they hated us for it.
Why? Why would Congress hate you for that?
Not Congress, the public. Congress is like, great, you saved us money. You're the only agency that returned money this year because we didn't spend our entire budget. We were literally funding seats with no humans in them for years. And what the government creep that I was talking about is these agencies go to Congress every year. And again, this is why it's a thing of decades. I need 5 more seats here. I need 10 more seats here. Okay, you keep doing that. How's that going? Oh, we'll fill that seat next year. We're in the process of, interviewing people for that section. And that keeps, no one returns money. It's the biggest fiction in government that you can't return money. Every agency and department that I've ever worked for, when it comes to the fiscal end of the year, they're like, go on trips, go spend money. What? Just give it back to Congress. We can't do that.
Yeah, you can. And that's why I think he is the right person for the job. That's why I think he is going to do a phenomenal job as the FBI director. And I really don't see him not getting confirmed, because a lot of these leftists are talking about him not being qualified. And I think that is, I think that's just a total crock. There was another video, and I'm not sure if I actually put it in the show. Let me take here and see. But there was another video of Katie Pavlich from Town Hall on Fox where she was talking about Kash Patel's talking about his qualifications. And okay, yep, here it is. So this is, like I said, this is Katie Pavlich, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because beforehand, Alex McCabe is on, or Andy McCabe, excuse me. He's on there talking about how Patel is not qualified. Meanwhile, this is the guy. Well, let me just let Katie explain it.
Justice referred him for criminal. Former acting FBI director Andrew McCabe. He was fired. He was fired for leaking information to the media. The Inspector General of the Department of Justice referred him for criminal prosecution. He is one of the top people who has destroyed the reputation of the FBI over the past 10 years. There's been no accountability for him, and he calls the current nominee unqualified. Well, let's take a look at Kash Patel's qualifications. He was the Deputy Director of National Intelligence, overseeing 17 intelligence agencies. He was in the Department of Justice under Barack Obama prosecuting ISIS. During the Trump administration, the first time around, he was in charge of taking out ISIS cells in the Middle East, what the administration did successfully. So he has the domestic policy or the foreign policy down. On the domestic side, he's the one who wrote that memo exposing the fact that the FBI was illegally wiretapping, issuing FISA warrants against American citizens who worked for a political campaign, the first Trump campaign. He has gone through and exposed all of the civil liberty violations the FBI has engaged in with, again, no accountability over the past really 10 years. And this started at the IRS under Barack Obama, by the way. It wasn't just in the FBI. So people like Andrew McCabe are trying to claim this is some kind of retribution. They're conflating retribution with accountability. And Kash Patel not only has the experience on foreign policy, but also on domestic policy as well, with all of his work rooting out this corruption used for political purposes against political enemies inside the intelligence communities and on Capitol Hill. Richard,
yeah, so Katie Pavlich really broke it down there. And the people who claim that he's unqualified, that's really the only thing they can say, and it's a complete lie, because when you look at his resume compared to James Comey's and Robert Mueller's and Christopher Wray, the current FBI director, when you look at their resumes, they're all very similar. They all started off in law, in private practice. They all ended up working for the government in some capacity in the U.S. Attorney's Office and things like that. Andy McCabe is the only one who actually was an agent. And when you look at what people have said about him as an agent, he wasn't a very good one. He was basically just the briefer. He didn't do very many cases, if at all. He was, I don't want to say a screw up, but he didn't acquit himself particularly well in a lot of cases. So he put it this way: he's more qualified to be the FBI director than Pete Buttigieg was to be the Secretary of Transportation. Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of a small to mid-sized town, and everyone, when they made him Secretary of Transportation, a lot of people in his town were like, "The roads are terrible here. Transportation is terrible." And so they couldn't understand how he became the Secretary of Transportation. So Kash Patel is qualified. He is as qualified to be the FBI director as any recent any FBI directors in recent memory. And if you go back even further, he's probably more qualified than some that did more qualified than some who held that position. So I am not the least bit leery of his qualifications. I think he is going to be an outstanding FBI director, and if he can do even half of the things that he wants to do in terms of cleaning up the FBI, that will be an enormous success. Enormous success. And other people are talking about how he's a loyalist. He's a Trump loyalist. There hasn't been a president elected who didn't nominate people who he thought would be loyal to him and loyal to his agenda. To nominate somebody who you have an idea wouldn't be loyal to you or your agenda is political suicide. Of course, he's going to pick people who are loyal to him. The fact that that's even a criticism is just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. If you're hiring somebody for a position and you have two people equally qualified, one of them is a friend of yours that you know is going to help you out, and the other one you really don't have any idea, well, of course you're gonna pick your friend. And yes, sometimes that turns out to be a mistake, but oftentimes it's the best move you could have made. And so when it comes to criticizing him for picking loyalists, I think that is the laziest, most ridiculous criticism you could possibly come up with. Is Kash Patel more or less qualified than Pete Buttigieg or Richard Levine? He's more qualified than Kamala Harris. And he has more prosecutorial experience than Kamala Harris does. She claimed that she prosecuted this, that, and the other thing. She didn't prosecute anything. There's no way she was a prosecutor, because she would have been better able to think on her feet if she had been. She had the office and she had other people do her work for her. I guarantee you, she signed off on what her prosecutors did. She didn't prosecute jack. Or what about Dimitri? What was his name? The homosexual guy with the pentagram, who was the monkeypox guy, Dimitri Dashkalakis or something like that. Kash Patel's more qualified than that guy. And at least he's not going to be going around the White House taking pictures with his shirt off. Anyway, you get the idea. All right. Before we move on, let's get in a word from our sponsor. And today's sponsor is going to be My Freedom Beef. And it is very scary what these three-letter agencies are doing with our food. That's why we have a garden, and that's why we're trying to get as little as we possibly can from stores where they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff with our food. And so My Freedom Beef, they are 100% Patriot owned, and you know what's in their beef because they only have 100% Angus cattle beef, and it's not certified. What it is they have no antibiotics, no hormones, and no mRNA vaccines in their beef. They are raised in a pasture and grass-fed. There is a few other, like you see here on the screen, there are a few other beef box options, but My Freedom Beef is the only one that is Patriot owned with 100% Black Angus beef genetics. And these days, when the economy, even though Trump won, the economy is still in a shambles, everyone deserves to be able to feed their families with meat they can trust. So go to myfreedombeef.com/Jackson and see why 20,000 Patriots a month are switching their shopping. Check out our sponsors, myfreedombeef.com/Jackson, to get the finest beef that America has sent directly to your door at unbeatable prices. Check them out. Go to myfreedombeef.com/Jackson today. All right, I came across this article, and I didn't really plan on putting this in the show today. But I came across this article and decided to go ahead and talk about it because since I'm here in Texas, and what Texas is doing on this front is something that I am very, very proud of. there are a number of states right now, Texas being one of them, Louisiana being another, I think Utah is also one, and a number of others that are not allowing porn, X-rated content to be shown to minors. What they're doing is requiring age verification, and for obvious reasons, these companies have decided that rather than implement these age verifications, they just won't show their content in these states. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they want this trash to be shown to children. And if they want this trash to be shown to children, they're pedophiles. They're pedophiles. And I really don't, it blows my mind that these people would really want the garbage that they're putting out to be shown to children. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, because we could do a whole series of shows on this and the effect that it has on society as a whole, children, men, women, everybody. We could do a whole series on it, and maybe we will do a deep dive on it at some point. But porn is one of the most destructive forces in our society right now. And not just for, like I said, for children, not just for men, but for everyone. The people who willingly participate in it, the people who are forced into it through human trafficking and other things, and the people who consume it. I mean, there are numerous horror stories about people who have been forced into that life, and how it affects them, how it affects their families, and even the people who go into it willingly. They have horror stories about how they come out damaged, and there are some who have had long careers in the industry and have somehow crossed over into mainstream and or somewhat mainstream anyway, and appear to be fine, appear to be okay, but they're not. They're not. Neither are their families, neither are their children. I saw this one story even before I decided to put this in the show, of an OnlyFans model whose teenage son films her scenes. What do you even say to that? Her teenage son films her doing all kinds of degrading things with men and women. And he's a teenager right now. So imagine in 5 years, is he still filming his mother's trash? Or does he realize just how much damage she did to him by doing that? And where does that leave him and her 5-10 years down the road? It's sad. It's really sad. And Okay, so how do we deal with this? How do we combat this? Texas is doing what I think is a great job. Like I talked about early on, they are they put a law into place where they mandate that these people, these companies have age verification on their sites. And like I said, rather than comply with that and keep as much of this out of the away from the eyes of children, they just decided that they're not going to bother, that they're just not going to show it in the state, which is I'm great with that. As far as I'm concerned, it should be illegal. Now, I didn't always have that position, and I started to come around to that even before I got saved and had my relationship with Jesus Christ. But yeah, it really should be illegal. It should be illegal. And in February of this year, Ken Paxton, Attorney General of Texas, filed a lawsuit against several of these companies, including ALO Global, Wes Group, Czech Republic, Hammy Media, and Multimedia LLC. And he filed a lawsuit against these companies, and they were fined millions and millions of dollars after agreeing to implement age verification measures. Some of them did. A lot of them just decided to block access in the state of Texas. This is one way. This is one of the things that I think government should get involved in. I am a limited government Christian conservative. There are some things that the government has no business being involved in. Making sure this trash doesn't get into the hands of children is one of them. And if they can do something to make it illegal, I know that's not a popular opinion. It may be among this audience, but I know that in general, it's not a popular opinion. People yammer on about it being artistic expression and all this stuff. It's not. It is absolutely not. It is degrading garbage that should not be allowed in this country. And a lot of these companies actually operate, have their headquarters overseas so that they don't have to be subject to a lot of the rules and regulations that we do have in this country. If it were up to me, I'd block all the access. They wouldn't be able to peddle that stuff in this country. And like I said, I know that's not a popular opinion among a lot of people, but too bad. Too bad. It should be illegal. And since it's not illegal, and the states, unlike Texas and Louisiana and Utah and a few others, the states are slow to come around to this way of thinking. And so the best way to combat this, the most effective way to combat this, even more effective than government intervention, obviously, is we need to turn to God. We need to turn to God and pray that we shut down these human trafficking operations that get these women and children into this, I don't even want to say into this lifestyle and into this trap. And like I said, the best way is to just pray that we get out of it, and pray that there are fewer people who want to consume this. And I know that the majority of the consumers of this trash is men, and I personally don't know anyone who was or currently are addicted to porn. I'm thankful for that. But I know that there are many people who are. And if we turn to God and take what he has to say about sexual immorality and about our bodies and about what he wants for us, if we turn to him, turn it over to him, we can not only eliminate the desire to consume this, but eventually just get rid of it altogether. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 3-5 say, "For this is the will of God, your sanctification, that you may abstain from sexual immorality, that each one of you know how to control his own body in holiness and honor, not in the passion of lust like the Gentiles who do not know God." One of the, and right now I'm speaking primarily to men, but one of the things that defines what a man should be in the eyes of God is being able to control his urges, to control his desires. If we don't do that, we're slaves to those base desires, and that's what leads to the addiction to porn and the addiction to sex in general. It leads to addictions of all kinds, alcohol, drugs. If we're not in tune with what the Word of God says, then and we're not controlling our emotions our emotions and our desires the way God intended, then we're just going to fall for anything that feels good, whether that be sex, drugs, alcohol, anything. And that's not what God wants for us. And there's another verse that I want to share with you, and it is Colossians chapter 3, verse 5. "Put to death for what is earthly in you: sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry." And a lot of times when I talk about idolatry, they think of worshiping idols, worshiping statues, worshiping things, worshiping their cars or whatever the case may be. But that's part of it, but that's not it. That's not everything. One of the when God said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," that doesn't just include golden calves. That includes alcohol. That includes yourself. Because if you think that you know better than God, if you think that you are the smartest, if you think that you are the most beautiful, whatever the case may be, anything that you put above what God wants for us, anything that you put above the Word of God, you've made into an idol. And people who are addicted to this trash and other things, they have made that their idols. And that's idolatry, and that's not something that you want in your life. And so when it comes to the consuming pornography and being addicted to all the other things that the world throws at us, and the world throws porn at us every day. If you're on Instagram for any length of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're on social media at all, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so my prayer is that people come back to Jesus and get back into a relationship with him, so that we can combat this nonsense in our own lives, that we can take control of our own lives and not be subject to this idolatry, as I said before. And then that way we can, like I said, get rid of it all together. And one of despite the doom and gloom that I just talked about, there is hope on the horizon, because there's been an analysis, and as it turns out, Bibles have been rising in sales. I think, did I actually put this in the notes? Maybe I didn't. Anyway, Bible sales are booming. According to this report, Bible sales have increased by 22% compared to last year. 22%. That is going to go a long way, like I said, to combating this. And this is not just people who are, like, I have multiple Bibles in this house. Yeah, we have a bunch of Bibles here. But this is among first-time buyers, first-time Bible buyers. And that is cause for celebration in my book. So what we need to do, like I said, turn back to God. And if you're one of the 22% of people who bought a Bible for the first time, great. If you're not, go ahead and get one and start reading it. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. All right, I'm running out of time here. And there's a couple of other things I wanted to get to that I may not, because I was once again long-winded. But if you've been paying attention to the economic state of this country, you probably are aware of BRICS. BRICS is a group of countries who have gotten together and are trying to supplant the dollar as the world's reserve currency. Had Harris won this election, I think that we would be a lot closer to having that happen. Now that Trump has won, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to do it. But the countries that have gotten together and are trying to do this: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and I think Turkey and one other country have applied to become members of this BRICS. And basically what it is they are trying to, what they want to do is create their own currency. And I don't think it's gotten to the point where they've actually created a currency yet. They are trying to do exactly that, though. And now that Trump has won, he has issued a statement, and he's just going tariff happy. But he has issued a statement threatening 100% tariffs on any of the countries involved in this if they act to undermine the US dollar. And I think that is outstanding. And this is according to Yahoo Finance. President-elect Donald Trump on Saturday threatened 100% tariffs against a bloc of 9 nations if they act to undermine the US dollar. While the US dollar is by far the most used currency in global business and has survived past challenges to its preeminence, members of the alliance and other developing nations say they are fed up with America's dominance of the global financial system. Well, too bad. Too bad. We're just better. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, Trump said in a Truth Social post, "We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling in the wonderful US economy." Yes. This is what leaders do. He's protecting American interests, something that's been lacking for the past 4 years. We've been doing everything but protect our own interests. And I know a lot of people are upset about tariffs. They don't want tariffs. Trump threatened 25% on Mexico and Canada and 10% more on China. People who are upset about Trump's proposed use of tariffs against these countries, they're only paying attention to places like MSDNC and CNN, who have basically vilified the word tariff. He is, and there was one who said that he wasn't interested in negotiating because he said he didn't want to negotiate with, I think it was China. That is negotiation. He's coming at it from a position of strength. Yeah, I don't want to negotiate with you. Well, whoever you say that to, they are going to say, well, come on, just hear me out. And that's how negotiations start. And people say that if you charge tariffs, it's just going to be an increase, and it's just going to be a tax on the American people. Trump put tariffs on a number of countries while he was in office the first time. And we had very, very low inflation, almost none. And if the tariffs were so bad, why did the Biden administration keep them in place? Yeah, but we had so much. Yeah, we had inflation after that because they just kept printing money. Tariffs, if used properly, can be one of the best economic weapons that we have, because it will encourage these other countries to level the playing field. Because what the way it stands right now, all these countries, we have to pay a lot to import things into their countries. And our tariffs, for the most part, for a lot of these countries, are so low that they don't have to do anything. So, of course, if they can get away with not paying any taxes to sell in our country, while at the same time having us pay to sell in theirs, well, of course they're going to do it. And Trump is like, no, That's over. We're not having that anymore. So good for him. Good for him. And good for us. And like I said, he's looking out for American interests. All right, I'm running out of time, and there is one other thing I wanted to get to. I'm going to have to skip a couple of stories that I really wanted to get to. I'll try to get to them when we're back together on Thursday. But this last one that I really wanted to get to is one of the most unhinged reactions to anything that I have ever seen in my life. Really. These people have lost their minds. Women are getting sterilized after Trump's victory. Women are so upset that, and it's just wrong because they think that Trump is going to implement a national abortion ban and take away their so-called right, which isn't a right, to kill their unborn children. States still allow it. And if you can't control yourself or use birth control, you can still, unfortunately, get an abortion. But these lunatics have decided that it is better to take away my own right to have children by sterilizing myself. That's a better option, according to these people. That is not rational. And these are 28, 23, 25-year-old women who are doing this to themselves. And when they get older and they meet a guy who perhaps wants to marry them and have a family, they're not going to be able to have children with that person. And that person may say, well, if you can't give me children, then we're not going to have a relationship, which is sad. But they're doing it to themselves. This is not a natural reaction. This is not a rational reaction to anything. Talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. These people need prayer. These people need to talk to someone. These people need help because they're not punishing anyone but themselves. They are taking they're taking themselves out of the gene pool, and some people might say that's a good thing because this kind of irrationality shouldn't be passed on. And I get that. I absolutely get that. But more than that, these people need prayer. They need deliverance from this demonic influence that's over them, because if you can't kill your unborn baby, then you're just going to take away your ability to have babies at all. That just doesn't compute for me. I do not understand it. And think of the women who want to have children but can't for whatever reason. This is a slap in their face. This, like I said, these people need prayer. These people need help. I will pray for them. I urge you to pray for them too, so that they realize that this is not the answer. But anyway, folks, I'm running over. That's all I got for you this time. I will try to do better and be less long-winded the next time. Please remember to hit the like button, share, subscribe, so that we can continue to spread the word, spread the message of hope, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the message of liberty that he provides, so that we can reach as many people as possible and preserve what we have for future generations. And if you like the shirt I'm wearing, please head over to missionreadymen.com, click on shop, and check out all the great designs that have messages of faith and patriotism. And as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Join me right here on the SHR Media Network every Monday and Friday, 12 on the Pacific, 3 on the East Coast. On this show, we'll discuss news, politics, the government, how cranky we are about the government, and more. If you want to hear hard talk, good interviews, sarcasm, bad jokes, and oh God, that really is me in a nutshell. Either way, check me out right here on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Friday, 12